Marion Cordes, Associate Professor and Extension Engineer at the University of Minnesota.
I'm Mickey Leonard, Researcher 4 with the University of Minnesota.
So, Mickey, you do a lot of work with the secure food system teams, and particularly secure poultry supply teams. And in that work, you do a lot of coordination. How important is that interagency cooperation when it comes to implementing secure poultry supply?
That the collaboration between the agencies and the different realms of the industries is so important. Getting feedback and working with state and federal agencies and the regulators, as well as industry veterinarians, and getting them all in the same work group as one of our projects has, is so interesting to be able to hear everybody talk about these different things and bring some of the different biosecurity principles from one commodity into the other, which has been really great to see too. But making sure that everybody is on board with something makes this so much easier, especially for a disease outbreak event, when you have that communication going between regulators and the industry. It's so great to see them be able to pick up right away and kind of understand where to go. And when we've had new regulators come in where they're not so sure, it's very clear. And so being able to have that collaboration has been really important in getting this work done.
What are some of the ways that you've helped establish this trust and in this collaboration? It might be as simple as setting a meeting together, but what are some of those techniques that you've done in some of this coordination?
Yeah, so making sure that people understand who you are and just being able to introduce yourself and say, hey, here's what I'm doing. This is why I'd like you to be a part of my work group. And a lot of times people are really receptive to that. They enjoy being asked these sort of questions and this sort of involvement. It's not always easy with schedules, but a lot of time people will do what they can to be a part of our work group, because when we explain what it is that we're trying to do with making everybody understand biosecurity and be on the same page with our different work, being able to have everyone together, they know that it's a big deal, and it's really nice to have that. And so that's what makes them want to be a part of it. And we also are just really honest and transparent about what we're doing, and including the industry. And it's really being able to just show everyone that we understand that not everything's going to be perfect makes them feel more comfortable to be able to talk and work things out too.
When you enter into some of these collaborative discussions, do you set any ground rules before you start about transparency?
We have a sense of rules. We don't ever have anything that's really just straightforward. You have to do this or don't do that, because we just want to make sure people are comfortable. So mostly what we do is we just say that everything that's talked about in our meetings is kept within our meetings. And so that way, I think that's where a lot of people feel that trust and they understand. And it really is kept within our work group meetings, and we haven't had issues in any way where you have that.
Can you give an example of perhaps an issue that's brought forward and you've seen perspective shared and you've helped grow understanding in a broader sense? Do you have an example you can quote?
Yeah. So a lot of our work within the 2022 HPAI outbreak, we were working directly with poultry veterinarians and talking about on-farm biosecurity and what practices are happening, what practices aren't happening, what are important things to be looking at. And one conversation in particular was talking about using trucks to move birds that have been used for birds of different species or commodities. And so depending on what movement that sort of truck just came from, the level of cleaning and disinfection is so vastly different. And so some people were like, whoa, that's something that happens. That's kind of problematic. Whereas other people realize this is the sort of limitation that we have. And so it was interesting to see both sides, and everybody really understood that there were two sides of this too, but coming to agreements of what was realistic and also safe was really important, and ultimately what we tried to do.
Great. Yeah, those light bulb moments are extremely satisfying.
Mhm.
And you can just see the growth happening everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the case of Minnesota and the work that you're doing, who are some of the players around the table? Who are some important players around this table for Minnesota? Now, agencies might be different in other states,
Yeah.
obviously, but what are these types of agencies that are really important to these organizations?
Yeah, so with Minnesota, we have different veterinarians with the Board of Animal Health, as well as sometimes we work with the Department of Health. They often will have specific representatives that join our work groups. We also like to collaborate with other poultry experts that are within the state here. And the Department of Ag, they also bring a lot of expertise to the table, and they offer a couple of veterinarians that are really instrumental to the work in outbreak response, especially. And then of course we have a lot of producers with Minnesota's turkey population, especially. It's pretty easy to find a couple of herd vets around here. So those are the main people that we work with here in Minnesota.
Within these task force groups that you help coordinate, you have different perspectives there. Would you say that the makeup of these task force or these committees is static, dynamic? What should it?
These are definitely dynamic. So we have a handful of people who are sort of tried and true, and they really like to work with us. So we like to bring those perspectives on board because they are people who know what we're doing and they're able to help guide some of the newer members. That's always really key for us. But we also really love to be able to branch out more and get more people in on the conversation, whether it be different states in either academic or the regulator sort of view, or even if it's different veterinarians and poultry producers, just getting them on board so that they understand what this work is, that it's even available, because some people don't even know that it exists. And so being able to work with them on finding out what it is that they need, as well as how we could potentially work with them on being implemented into their state plans. And so we always love to try and broaden our horizon with that and bring in more people as we can.
If you are able to, at the drop of a hat, bring in a new perspective from a different direction or a different region, or even a couple of those, how would you broaden that network? In your opinion, what's the best way to broaden it?
I think just being able to reach out to some of those big players so we often will bring in allied industries into our discussions. So being able to bring in just a couple of those big names in any industry. So, talking before about trucks, bring in a trucking company, being able to work with them first and then maybe being able to branch out from there. And especially these industries that are so key to everyday production, especially in poultry, getting to have their input on things would be crucial because they're also affected by all of the different outbreaks that happen. And I think it would be really great for them to understand that too, because we may be able to get better collaboration to understand it.